Hey everybody, this is Kevin and welcome back to the next video in the building of the DeAgostini kits of the Lotus 97T Renault Formula One car. And we're going to do some additions to the main chassis here. We got the front monocoque and wing assembly done. And we're going to be adding in the steering bulkhead, which is going to mount just behind where the steering wheel is going to go. And also more of the front suspension parts. If you notice, we do have the upper suspension arms in place, but we have nothing on the bottom side. So we're going to be installing a panel here with the control arms. And again, we're going to install right back in here, the steering column bulkhead. So without any further ado, let's start building. Okay, here we are with stage 9. Let's go ahead and rip the package open, and you can see at the bottom here, actually it's better to open this way I think, we've got the main bulkhead that we're going to be working with, along with all the little brackets. In fact, there's some dials and gauges here for the cockpit. So we're going to get some intricate work done today. We'll get that one opened up, and oh, right on top there was a bag of BM screws. We got some DMs and some LPs, not to be mistaken with old record player albums. Okay, we do have some, it looks like some cabling or wiring here, DP and CM screws. So let me go ahead and get the parts out that we need, and we'll get to work on that bulkhead. Okay, the first thing we need to do is attach these two brackets here to these little square inlets in the bulkhead, using the two different types of screws. The first one, actually let me do this one, the DM screw is a machine screw that will go through the bracket and directly into the metal bulkhead. Okay, we'll cinch that down nice and tight. Okay, and the other one is actually a more or less like a wood screw thread, because it's going to go through the bracket, through the bulkhead, and then thread into this post that's made of plastic that'll mount behind the bulkhead. So let me go ahead and get the screw through the bracket and the hole and see if we can't pick up those threads here. There we go. Okay, got that on, and let's pull out some more parts. Okay, next we're going to take this smaller post here and mount it to the back side of the bulkhead. And you notice there's a little pin there, and it's going to go right in that hole there next to the bracket, right in here, and it should be a pressure fit. See if it will hold its own. Yep, there it goes. And it pops into place. No glue required. And the other thing we need to do is attach this part here, there, and then screw in a DP screw from the back side. See if we can't get that more at 90 degrees here. Back it off. I think it went a little too tight. There we go. I'll just tighten it until we get to the angle we want. There we go. Okay, nice and secure. Okay, next up we're going to get the instruments and on the instrument panel. Okay, we're going to install it's called the manometer. There's actually two of them, two manometers, and they go on this mounting bracket here. Let's go ahead and attach this to the bulkhead first. There's a pin and a hole for the threaded screw on top. So let's go ahead and get that in position. Pop it into place, and then take our DP screw and attach it from the front side of the bulkhead. That should go through here. Perfect. And then there's two little pins right here on the silver bracket that we're going to put the two manometers on. Now it's very difficult to distinguish the two apart, but let me hold these up and see if they'll focus. You notice the one on the left there has a little bit of a red dot, like a do not exceed limiter on the top left corner, about 10 o'clock position. That is going to go on the top, that's the top gauge, and then the right one here is the bottom gauge. So let's see if we can't get that into position on the top pin here, and if we have to rotate it, we'll rotate it. Okay, it looks good. Okay, press it all the way in. Okay, now we do the bottom one. There we go. Okay, it snaps into position. There's a little bit of a wobble to that. Let me see if I can't tighten that bracket down a little bit more. I don't want to strip the threads. Oh yeah, it definitely tightened down a little bit better. Okay, so we got the first instruments there on the dash. Okay, next we're going to attach our steering column clamp into these front holes on the bulkhead here. Those two posts just fit into those holes, followed with two DM screws on the front side. Let me get these loaded up here. Probably ought to be using just maybe a small, well, no, that fits, but probably a smaller screwdriver would work on this one as well. Okay, now we're going to combine steps here. We're also going to do this in this segment. We're going to take our two anti-roll bar adjustment cables, and they're going to attach to the back end of that post, which was 9F from earlier. And man, this is some tight, tedious, fiddly work there. Okay, put that one on, and then there's also another pin right here on the right-hand side of the bulkhead. We're gonna plug into that. Just like so. And these two ends will, well, actually, yeah, the one at 9F, sorry, I'm looking at the directions, it's going to clamp into this post down here. There, okay. And for now, this cable is just going to remain loose, so we're going to leave that one as is. Okay. Okay, now we get to attach the bulkhead to the monocoque, and I did some fiddling with this, kind of, dry fitting earlier. It's not an easy fit. It just kind of takes some tedious finagling. We're going to drop it in. Again, that one cable is left loose. There's a pin right here that cable is going to plug into after we get this installed. So there's two posts down at the bottom that the brackets need to drop on top of. You got to kind of drop this in at an angle. There, like so. Okay, we'll take our first CM screw and drop it in to the bracket, and it should thread into the metal cockpit pin. That's got it. One more. Okay, so that bulkhead is pretty sturdy. Okay, we're going to take our loose cable here. Let's bring it back and it's going to plug in. First I'm going to route it through the bulkhead. And then plug it in from the top. This is very tight quarters. Whoops. There we go. Okay, so that plugs in right there. I'll do a zoom in on it so you can see where that cable plugs into the pin. Okay, so that takes care of installing the bulkhead. Okay, now I'm not sure how well this is going to show up on screen, but we need to take our steering pinion shaft that we had back in issue 6. Right here, it's the shaft and it's got the pinion gears on it, which will align with the teeth for the steering mechanism. And we need to pass this through the steering shaft column from the front. See, there we go. Get that in, and then you got to try to get those teeth into the grooves on the steering column, which we have. Okay. Let me rotate it one tooth over so things are centered. There we go. So now there's a flat side and a round side on that shaft, just like is on this shaft here. See, it's flat on this side and it's round on this side. Now I'm going to take this end and run it through the dash column hole and align it with the bottom side of that front shaft. Very, very finicky little piece here. See if I can get those to mate up there. And then from the top side, we need to run 2 BM screws down to hold that shaft together and make it one shaft, basically. There, okay. Okay, got them started now. Just kind of tighten them down. Oops. Problem is that the shaft will turn on you because it's part of the steering mechanism. Just little baby steps here, little baby turns at a time. Okay, that's done. Let's get the back screw in. Okay, now we should be able to run the steering by twisting that knob. And as we do that, you'll notice these 2 steering arms go back and forth. So it's a little clunky, you can hear it, but it does operate. So at least it is in the right position and things are where they should be. Okay. And that wraps up stage number 9. Let's clear the board and get ready for stage 10. Okay, for stage 10, you'll notice it's very minimal in parts. Actually, it's basically 3 main components and a couple cables and our bag of screws. But this is going to be the front suspension system. And I was kind of disappointed too to find out that these are not going to be assembled to the main chassis just yet. So I went ahead and put the chassis away and we're just going to be dealing with these parts. But we've got some DM screws here, and this, boy, you can tell that's metal. So, all right, let me clear the board, get the parts out that we need, and we'll start assembling the front suspension system. Okay, we're going to take the front left suspension arm, the front lower left suspension arm, and attach it to the center frame for the chassis. And we're going to drop them into these 2 plugs right here, flip it over, and take our machine screws, which are DM, thread them through the panel and into the control arm itself. Let me get that one started, and we'll get the other one going as well. And we'll lock it down tight, and we'll come back to the first one. And we'll lock it down tight. Okay, now we'll take the other arm and duplicate the process on the other side. So it'll go something like that. Okay, let me take some more DM screws. And this is not the most exciting and thrilling stage, but it's an important one nonetheless. Without suspension, everything's going to fall apart. All right, lock that in and lock that one back in. Okay, there we go. Looking good. Okay, now to wrap up stage 10, all we need to do is take our two brake lines, and there are two small pins. Let me see if I can show you. Just ahead of the control arms right here and right here. And we're going to take our two lines, plug them in, just like that. And the other one, just like that. And the instruction stages, leave them loose like that. They don't connect anything just yet. So that wraps up stage 10, and that also wraps up this package. So let's do a quick closeout. Okay, that wraps up stages 9 and 10 on the Lotus F1 build. I will tell you, I'm thinking about going back in and applying a dab of glue on each of those pins where the cables connect. On a couple of them, they slid off, so I'm going to go back and just maybe put a dab on each pin to hold that cable line in place so they don't fall off, because if they fall off and the whole thing is built up down the road, I don't know how we're going to get back in there to reattach. So I'll do that off camera, but for now, we're making progress. Thanks for watching, everybody. God bless, and we will see you next time.